All right, we'll call this meeting back to order, and we are having a discussion about the size of the new K-8 school and various other things with the project. Let me start by, Mr. Taylor, could you come up and, I'm gonna make a list on this whiteboard of all the bond projects that we've got. So now, we got the K-8 school,
Yes, sir.
we've got an addition at Rocky Point Elementary.
Yes, sir. The remodel at Topsail Middle School to accommodate Topsail High School overcrowding.
All right, and central office and bus garage.
Before that, though, sir, you have the Burgall Middle School cafeteria renovation. And then you have the two central services facilities you mentioned.
Okay. Do you know right off what the estimate was for any of these smaller ones?
Yes, sir. The Burgall Middle School is about $4 million.
All right.
The Topsail Middle School is about $25 million.
All right.
I think Rocky Point was 1.5. And I can look that up and get you very specific if you would like. And then the two central services facilities were around 35 or 36 million. I can't remember the exact.
It's close enough.
Okay.
And what was budgeted originally for the K-8? Do you know that right off?
Yes, sir. 111 million.
Okay. All right. So the 111 million was based on a 2,000 student school, right?
Yes, sir. In 2021.
All right. Has anybody come up with any kind of an estimate on what any of the bigger amounts would be?
We're currently at a projected cost of 129 million for the K-8
At what size?
at 2,000 students, sir.
At 2,000?
Yes, sir.
That's the only estimate. We don't have an estimate for any of the larger amounts we've.
No, sir, we do not. But we recognize from the beginning that because the central services facility was at the bottom, that would be the first $18 million project lost.
Okay.
Because our goal is obviously to accommodate our students first.
Okay. I just don't know what we don't know a cost of, we need to decide a size, but we don't know the cost of it. That's what bothers me. So, I don't know how we proceed like that, is my question. I mean, I can tell you I want a 10,000 student school. But
Sure.
You ain't got it, you ain't got it. So, that's the problem with that.
Mr. Bordeaux and I were in conversation previously. I do think in our conversation, we discussed the potential of, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Bordeaux, please. I think it was $12 million for the extra 250 students, and then it would escalate from there. And of course, going above the 2,250 students, we then incur additional costs such as the $3 million in
That's right.
redesign fees.
That's where I was trying to go with
Yes,
this.
sir.
Let me make it clear that any guesstimation numbers that any of you might throw out, the purpose of this is to not hold you to an amount like that. And I want the public to hear that too on video. This is just trying to see what, kind of what we're dealing with here. As long as everybody's okay with that. We're not, if you tell me, well, that's gonna cost $13 million more, well, the purpose of this is not to hold you to that. You understand? Okay. So, if you go to 2,250, you're talking about an additional, how much did you say?
It's 12 million, right, sir?
12 million construction costs, probably an extra million in soft costs, underside costs, so 13 million would be a good ballpark.
2250, yes, sir.
All right, yeah.
Say 13 million would put us
Let's
at
call it
140.
15 to be safe.
Okay.
The 144.
Yes, sir.
All right, what would anybody's guess be about a 3,000? Probably another 40 million.
What's, Mr. Bordeaux, how many square foot you got at the additional 15 million ballpark?
20,000 square foot.
20,000. Give me just a second, Don.
All right.
The issue with the 3,000 student school is unknown of whether it's feasible on site, so you may be looking at land acquisition and restarting design, so it would be
Right.
more moving parts.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that. But yes, that's,
About 700, ringing up about 750 a square foot, give or take. So, how many square foot would, 3,000 look like?
a lot.
The 20,000 is just for the classroom additions. If we were to try to do 3,000 students, there'd be a redesign of all core areas as well, which would increase the size, square footage of cafeteria space, gym seating, parking needs, and of course our queuing, which has been problematic from the beginning due to the site being completely surrounded by wetlands.
So, say, with queuing, it's not just a matter of, okay, you've got to add more lanes, which of course would be a cost to us.
Yes, sir.
The other issue is, do you even have space to do that, right?
Yes, sir. Right now, and John Blasco, the lead design for the civil side, he's placed the roads as close to the wetlands as we can without creating more of a Army Corps of Engineer impact. Is that the right word?
I can explain a little more maybe.
Sure.
So currently with the approximately 2,000 student, or actually, I think we're even looking at it from the 2250, the DOT and MSTA recommendations are somewhere in the 7,000 to 7,200 linear feet of queue space on site. That's give or take, I don't know the exact number, but we're in the, so a little bit more than a mile and a quarter of queue space. As we increase the student population, that queue space needs to get longer. Now, we could do it a number of ways. We could, add an additional lane. Right now, we're at 2 lanes coming into the site. We have it splitting, we have different grades, splitting around the buildings to try to, separate and try to maximize our road space.
It's not just a matter of having, here's your lanes. You can't just say, okay, we'll add a third lane. It's not that simple, correct?
I think we could. We'd have to look at it, based on what the evaluation comes back. Our traffic engineer, Kimberly Horn, they're working through those calculations, but we could potentially add a third lane. That creates also an operational challenge. You've got 3 lanes of parents who are usually angry and frustrated and trying to get through. The other option would be to look at a more, circuitous route, racetrack style, which then you end up having ups and downs, and that's, I think, also probably not very ideal. So that's kind of what we're looking at. The site is also hemmed in by wetlands, so we're trying our best to avoid as much of the wetland and environmental impact as possible.
So in simple terms, you think 2 lanes could handle 2250?
Yes, that's what we're aiming for now, is we're actually planning the site based on the 2250.
Anything over that, we'd have to at least add a third lane.
More than
At
likely,
least.
yeah, I would say that's probably likely. We were actually looking at a third lane currently, but we were able to sort of split the traffic around the school in a way that we were able to stick with 2 lanes. And that's kind of where, again, that's just preliminary. It's in review with DOT and MSTA,
not-
but
Well, theoretically, would 3 lanes handle 3,000? Probably not.
doubtful.
All depends on the start times of the schools.
And that's the other thing we're looking at too, is right now the analysis is based on the 1 bell schedule, which, again, 3,000 or 2,000 students coming in and out all at the same time, so.
Which means you would probably have to have elementary start at one time and middle at the other. And then you have parents who have kids in both.
Yeah.
That creates another set of issues.
Yeah, so the
Then
staggered
sharing
bell-
buses and,
Yeah, staggered bell schedule should help with the queuing, but again, there's, like everything else, there's trade-offs. So,
so third lane is, mean, paving is expensive, so, I mean, the cost to add another lane, you're talking about, what, $1 million, $2 million, I mean, a lot. Paving is like $1 million a mile, right? And that used to be, it's probably 5 million now, but whatever. To see little costs like that would add to, these first numbers I wrote don't even include these extras, is my concern. So, I think that answers my question about it. Do y'all have any, Mr. Smith, do you have any?
I don't have any questions at this time.
Mr. Hall, what I would ask you to do is to look back at them numbers, because all them numbers were gathered back in, what year did you say it was, Mike, Mr. Taylor?
The previous board was working on the, bond before I came into this role. I came in August of 2022. I think the bond had already been outlined in 2021. And the bond preparation was done starting in the spring of 2022 for the upcoming election.
So I would say it's probably what, 2021, all them numbers were, or at least early 2021 possibly. All those numbers are gonna be fictitious at this point, I do believe.
I wouldn't say they were fictitious.
Fraud.
I would simply say that if you added
They're under
escalation.
I agree. I think
Yeah, yeah.
outdated would be the better
outdated,
word.
yep, that'd be a good word too.
That comes, pretty close to the 178 million, doesn't it? It's within about $500,000 of it,
Yes, sir.
so. All right, so the problem is we've got some that would like 3,000, some that would like 2,250, and then you've got one like me that would like to have about 2,500. But, you know, we've got to work out something today,
Sure.
is my point. So,
I wouldn't call 3 years sustainable.
3 years of what?
3 years of opening a school is not sustainable.
What do you mean?
When you open a school and it's already at capacity in 3 years, you
Oh,
didn't,
yeah.
you didn't do anything.
No, you're limited by your money. That's the,
I'm not worried about all those other projects, just because I think, you're gonna succumb to the taxpayers to build another school, which is gonna have to happen, right? I mean, but we don't need to keep
if
building.
another bond would pass, which I
If,
doubt.
yeah.
Because of, this one passed by 1%.
Yeah.
And that was before the tax increase.
Right.
I will say that. So,
I feel like the voters would be more apt to pass another bond if they knew their money was going to, you would have a bigger percentage is what I would say, a bigger percentage of a pass or a loss, if they knew they were building a school that was gonna be sustainable. Not just be at a point to where their kids are now out of the floor and in a desk, walking through the door.
so did anybody come up with a guess on what a 3,000 student would cost?
It's 20,000 a square foot. I'm sorry, 750 a square foot, and that additional 250 was 20,000 square foot, coming up to about 15 million. So how many square foot would it take, Mr. Bordeaux, to get to 3,000 additionally to what we have?
Let's just say arbitrarily, it's about 370,000 square foot, give or take. It's really hard to say, there's some other
There's other
dynamics at
things
play.
that have to be,
It would make it one of the largest K-8 schools in the entire country. And we would need to also study things such as parking deck, which would cause cost per square foot to skyrocket. Site acquisition would be another one that would come into play, because you'd be, looking at a complete new site, complete new clearing, complete new redesign. There'd be a lot of other factors that would come into play.
What is the math on that? Somebody that's got it.
You says 370,000 square foot for 3,000. What, how much are you at now? Or where are we at? 255.
So if you just do it square foot per student, it's about 383,000, but your core sizes are gonna have to be larger too. It's probably gonna be closer to 400,000 square feet, not 3,000.
Somebody do the math so I can put it on my list here.
You're looking at 145,000 extra square foot. That's figuring at 400,000. What was that number?
That's what, y'all have the calculator.
Yeah, I just gave you the number. Did you write it down?
I'm dealing in millions here. But
If you're talking, what I'm coming up with for $750 a square foot for, what was that,
Brent, that was 400,000.
I don't know.
400,000 square feet, you're looking at $300 million.
Well, 750 square foot total.
Mr. Chairman, this is Ken Smith. I'd like to just make a statement. You had said, Chairman Hall, that at the last meeting that you had asked, what would we like? I just want to make sure that I'm on record that even though I did say the higher number, 3,000, that yes, I think all of us would like to have that larger number, but with the investigation and being told if we cannot afford it, it would be just the same as being asked what would we like on a menu. And if we're not able to afford what's on the menu, then it makes no difference what we want if we only can afford the cheaper item. So I guess the question is just going to come down to it, Mr. Chairman, is what can the board afford to do at this point right now so we're still able to meet some of the other needs from this bond?
that's why I'm trying to, has anybody come up with a figure? I'm dealing in millions here. 129 for a 2,000 school, 144 million for 2250. How many millions would it cost us about to build a 3,000 student school?
I think conservative 300.
300 million, let's like, okay. Well, then, our bond is 178 million, so that doesn't take rocket science. So,
So at this point, Mr. Chairman, we're able to do the 2,250. Is that correct?
well, we'll have to cut something somewhere to pay for it, but yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion then that we, at this time, move forward with the 2,250 students.
Brent has a representative from the DOT on the phone who I also asked to call in if necessary. He stepped out to speak with her. Ken, can you hold your motion for just a minute? And I'll get him back in here so we can vote. All right, we're going to take a 5-minute break, and we'll pick this up in just a minute. All right, Mr. Smith, make your motion.
Based on the numbers that has been presented to the board and the financial feasibility of what we can afford, I am making a motion of 2,250 students at this time.
All right, Mr. Smith has made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Burns has made a second. All in favor, say aye.
Beth Burns, aye.
Roll call vote.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Ms. Burns,
Aye.
Mr. Springer. All right, 2-1, motion passes. What is the other object that we needed to take up today? Something dealing with the county commissioners.
Yes, sir, I'll just go ahead and make a motion if you don't mind.
All right?
A motion that the board grant permission for Bordeaux Construction to advertise the early site work package to bid with the schedule presented previously.
All right, Ms. Burns has made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
Mr. Smith has made a second. All in favor, Mr. Smith, say aye or nay.
Aye.
Ms. Burns
Aye.
and Mr. Springer. No. All right, motion passes. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to
I
adjourn.
make a motion to adjourn.
All right, Ms. Burns has made a motion. Mr. Smith, would you like to second it?
Second it.
All right. Have a vote. Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Ms. Burns,
Aye.
Mr. Springer.
Yes. Aye.
All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.